with this this intentional space of breath and grace and kindness, I'm just noticing it's like palpably different. I'm just noticing it's like palpably different. When coming on conversations, whether it's just us or in gatherings with people, lots of times there's this like enthusiasm energy of action and deep reflection, and this is not the right word, but the word that's coming is like chasing curiosity. And now that we've entered this space of, grace and presence and kindness and breath, it's just like a big cloud of yummy, like a yummy cloud of just space and light and space is here. And yeah, it's very palpable for me of just coming together and being in space with you.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I recognize that I'm a very seasonally moody person. Like I'm moody with everything, but I'm really moody with the seasons. And so in a lot of places, it's still autumn or it's just really peaking autumn. And I got on the ferry and came to Alaska, which doesn't really have autumn. It just goes like summer. You get to see the colors for a second, and now you're in winter. And so the feel is kind of, that deep wintry hibernation introspection thing. And at the same time, I'm still creating stuff. And, it's just, a week or two ago, I was in the beginning of fall. So it's just this kind of interesting way of being in this new space. And I think that the moments of grace and the breath of kindness really speaks to how my mood is. It's just this calm space of being, and then the grace of just moving through each day. No hurry, no rush. Like I don't need to get anywhere really fast. So it's this like calm, beautiful space. At the same time, still in creation mode of things that I'm developing and doing in my business life. And then the kindness and the calmness of integrating and being in new territory, so to speak.
Yeah. And for any season that we're in, what is the breath and the space and the kindness that's showing up in each season? And that in and of itself, it's really, our bodies are really tuned in to the season that we're acclimatized to in the earth. So there's some people who their bodies naturally have 4 seasons because they're in a 4-season environment. And there's some bodies that are in a 2-season environment where it's like rainy season and not rainy season. And so when we're in a seasonal change, there are still moments of grace. And when we're in a seasonal change, whatever that season is, there's still space for the breath of kindness. And so that's just and also like how can we be curious? We've talked about curiosity before, but being aware of the season that I'm in, and to be curious of what is the season I'm in inviting me into regarding kindness and breath and grace. So, for example, the season of grieving and winter sometimes can be equated with that, of like the earth goes into grief. And actually, Persephone is the queen of the underworld. If you like Greek mythology, we're in winter because Persephone went underground and her mother is mourning because Persephone couldn't be saved from the underworld. and she's down in the underworld for half the year, and then she comes back up, and then spring shows up. But in the Greek mythology is we have winter because Persephone's mom is grieving the loss of her daughter. And this would not happen if there wasn't, spring would not happen if there wasn't loss. So there's a whole bunch of conversation that we could have there. And there is something for if the people who are experiencing winter, we go through spring, we go through summer, we've just had harvest, and now the earth is preparing for quiet. The earth is preparing for space and stillness in a different way. And there's still growth in the cold. There's still growth in this season where it's darker, where the light goes away. And our inner light doesn't have to be diminished in times of darkness. Our inner light doesn't have to go away, even if we're grieving. And my dad passed away in March. Like it's 8 months-ish, maybe more, since my dad passed away. And I never imagined talking about grieving. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm not grieving my dad. Everything's fine. And we're seasonal. So interesting things can show up. Interesting things can show up. And am I willing to be surprised by the season that I'm in? And what am I grieving? What am I letting go of? And what space of grace can I be right now?
I love really honing in and paying attention to how my body is resonating with the season and the earth and what's happening. And I found like in the past, when winter would come, it would get really like deep and introspective. And I'm feeling some of that. The difference in the coolness is there is this space of gentle nurturing that's happening that is keeping the light, because winter in Alaska is darker. And so it's keeping the light brighter somehow. It's hard to really put into words, but there's this bright light of gentleness and nurturing and kindness that's kind of like wrapping up in a blanket and feeling cozy, but not deep and dark. And so I appreciate that. And you're speaking about grieving, and it's interesting how we have perspective of death and grieving and letting go and all of those things. And I wonder through the moments of grace, if in the grieving season, we can find a gentle kindness for ourselves and a gratitude and honoring of whatever it is that we're letting go of or grieving versus a deep, dark sadness. And not to say that deep, dark sadness isn't relevant or we can't have it. It's just we don't have to let it take over our lives. We can stay on track with our path and our future and our selves moving forward, even through these different seasons and times of the year.
And whatever people are grieving, and it can be you're grieving the sun. It doesn't have to be a tragic, gigantic loss. We all grieve. We all go through phases of all of that. And it doesn't have to be horrendous. It could actually be a beautiful thing. And so thank you for that invitation, Michelle, of what is the moment of grace I'm having here with the loss I'm experiencing? What is the moment of grace I'm having here in this new land, in this new season, in this new land, in this new place that I'm in, I've never been in. And And we often don't want to talk about grieving because it gets a bad rap. It's like, are you done? Like you should be over it. And what if it was like a season that is just a season, and we give our bodies the space and time it requires. We give our bodies the moments of grace that it's asking for, so it can evolve and be space beyond what I think this is. Because it might actually not be grief at all. It might be the most deepest space of love, but we don't want to go there because we think it's a loss. So in all of that, for me in this moment is more breath, and the moment of grace, of being gracious and being graceful with the unknown grief I'm experiencing that I don't even know I'm experiencing. Like my willingness to allow grief a place in my life, because I grieve because I love. And I don't have to be weighed down by it when I'm giving myself and my body moments of grace, of just being gracious and graceful with whatever is showing up for me in my day. And it might not be grief. It might not have anything to do with it, but allowing, I move through this day with grace. I am gracious in how the day moves through me. And if I'm gracious, I give space for me to be with this day. If I'm gracious, it's like, oh, it's okay. You need more space. It's okay. So I'm graceful in how I move through my day and what this is. And I'm gracious for whatever I discover about myself in this current time that I'm in right now.
It's interesting because so I intentionally came to Alaska because I recognized that I was the only one standing in my way of spending time with my grandkids. Like we've talked about that. So I'm here and I spent, the first week and a half with my 5-year-old granddaughter who has a lot of words. And you know how I am with a lot of words. So, I can only take in so many. And then I'm like, I can't hear you anymore. She has a lot of words, and apparently she only has a lot of words with me. So we're getting along really well. And we've decided we're best friends, which is really cool. And one of the things that I recognize is, number one, like I only get to spend time with her while she's 5 for a short time, and then she'll be 6. And, looking at my bonus life that I'm living now that my kids are grown, and recognizing that, maybe it's 30 more Christmases that I have with my family. Maybe it's 30 more Thanksgivings that I have with my family. Maybe I'll live longer. I don't really have a point of view about age and dying, so I'm cool with whatever. But that's a different perspective that I've never had. And so, spending time with my granddaughter who's 5, this is the moment I get to see her when she's 5, and spending time with my grandson when he's 7. This is the moment I get to spend time with him when he's 7. And taking the moments of grace to just be calm and present and move through the situation, not be busy, not have too many things to do, and really appreciate the time and how fun it is to, just hear this little chatter all day telling me all kinds of cool stories, that before I recognize this space that I'm currently in, I was just busy. I was moving. Like I had 5 minutes to give you. And now, I'll just let her talk to me for 6 hours if that's what she wants to do. And so this moment of grace for me is this new presence that I've never allowed myself to have or recognize in the guise of my mental concern and worry for supporting children. And it's really cool to be in that space. And just the kindness of presence, to be able to just be calm, take a breath, and be kind in the moment, no matter what is happening. And recognizing that, like, even like, I think we might have even referred to this before, but I took a trip to Anchorage, which is not that far, but you're on the highway, and I haven't been on the highway since I got on the ship or drove here. And so it was a little bit different to be driving again. And I thought about how, we're in a hurry, and like, cars are like trying to go really fast, and people get up on you behind you and they're in a hurry, and you can tell they're like frustrated and angry. And it made me think of the breath of kindness when I was driving, because it just isn't that big of a deal. And how often do you zoom by, or do I zoom by you, and then we end up at the same stoplight at the same time? And we don't think about that. We're just in such a hurry in our own space that there's no breath of kindness in the moment. And recognizing that literally changes the entire scene and experience.
Absolutely. It's amazing. And it comes back to presence. When I'm bringing this energy of grace and graciousness and graceful, when I'm bringing the energy of breath and kindness into my day, I'm present with myself. I'm not reacting to the world around me. I'm not trying to force myself onto anyone or force myself on myself. And then the fun and the joy of living shows up because I'm just here, breathing and being graceful and being gracious as I trip and fall down the stairs. Like, it's just happening. There's a funny story, and it speaks to me of this breath of kindness. Well, to all of it, actually. So 2 days ago, I was at a care center where I go every week and facilitate some wellness classes there. And it's a movement class, and where people are moving and shaking, and some are hardly moving and shaking because they can hardly move and shake, but they're there. And there's a woman who comes, and everyone's got a story, right? So it's kind of like when elements of grace and kindness are missing, we can go into the story. I think that might be an indicator of, if you're asking, well, how do I know if I'm not in moments of grace? Well, you're probably telling a giant story about something that's wrong. Or how do I know I'm not breathing the breath of kindness? Well, you might be in a story of what you can or cannot do. So example, so on Tuesday, I'm at this center, and there's a lady, and her original story when I first met her was, oh, I can't do this, dear, because I have a stroke. A big story of what she can or can't do. And this is just, I'm just here to listen. No problem. You listen, have a good time. Blah, blah, blah. Well, now she's been coming every single week for quite a while now. And she comes and she's doing the stuff, and she's moving her body. And the story has shifted. She doesn't say that anymore. She doesn't give me any story about any problem. She's actually just there. And she's really gracious, and she's really kind. She doesn't care if she can't do the cha-cha. She's just happy that she's there. His presence. So after the class, I go around and I visit with everybody, and I go up to her and I was like, thank you so much for coming. Like, it's so great to have you here. You're so much fun. And I'm about to go on a trip with my mom and venture off. And I was telling them about this flight we're going, and we're going to go see Paul Anka and blah, blah, blah. And she's in a wheelchair. She's like, will you just have a wonderful time? Just a wonderful time. And I was like, I will, thank you. And this was it. She says to me, enjoy every minute, dear. Every minute, enjoy every minute. And that's that piece you're talking about, because if I'm trying to push myself through the moment, I will miss the minute. And then it came down to this golden nugget. She says to me, and she's like, and you know what? Just eat really good food. That's all you got to do. Just eat well. Have fun and eat well. And I'm like, put that on a t-shirt. Like that is my moment, the moment of grace, or the breath of kindness, moment of grace. Wow. For her, it's like, enjoy every single moment and eat really good food. That's it. Enjoy the moment. And hopefully there's good food on the side. It's like, that's it. Like, really, it shouldn't be like, oh, I can't do that. It's going to take too much time, or it's going to be too many calories. Enjoy every moment and make sure you're just eating really good food. Because maybe in the end, it's just Jell-O. Or maybe in the end, it's just rice pudding beyond belief. And yeah, in that moment, there was grace. And in that moment, she shared this breath of kindness of just like, really, honey, just enjoy every moment and eat good food. Like, if you're not eating good food, really, why are you going? And it's so simple, the practice of just showing up to your life and being present. And that shows up with the breath of kindness and the moments of grace you have with yourself and with other people.
Yeah. So everyone listening, enjoy every moment and eat good food.
And let us know what you're eating. Maybe share some recipes.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. As always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Michelle. Blessings to you. Enjoy it all.